All right,
All right,
here we are.
Here we are, Dean and Ann.
Yeah, we're going to do our review of episode 3 of The Acolyte. We haven't watched it yet. It'll be coming up right after this little talk we're going to have.
We have something important to talk about with you. There's a lot of emotions around the new Star Wars series.
Yeah. Well, I'm aware of it because I'm the big Star Wars fan in the house.
Is.
You're more casual.
Yes, I'm a casual. I don't know all the history and legacies and everything that needs to be fulfilled.
The prophecies.
Anyway, I lighthearted.
Yeah, you don't take it as seriously as I do, and that's fine. We enjoy Star Wars together, but I'm much more of an intense fan, and I was aware that there was going to be some controversy around this series, The Acolyte. Although our first review of episodes 1 and 2, we kind of ignored all that stuff and didn't really pay attention to it.
Yeah, I didn't really know.
I wanted to go into it with an open mind and judge it based on its merits, just the content, the art itself, and not
how entertained I felt.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, I was going away from that now. You wanted to see how entertained you were, right? And if you enjoyed it, because you did. You enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a little more fun and adventurous. I mean, the Book of Boba Fett really... It was a slog for me.
Yeah.
Not that the performances weren't good or... it just didn't hit me.
I know a lot of people didn't feel good about Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, until the Mandalorian showed up. But Andor was great, and I loved Andor all the way through. But anyways, back to this thing, the Acolyte. So we went into the first 2 episodes not really paying attention to all the drama around this stuff, and but since our review and since the premiere, it's been a week now. There's just been nothing but crazy arguments and vitriol and insane stuff going on. And, we're just going to come on here and say we haven't seen episode 3 yet. We're going to watch it right now here in a few minutes, and then we'll put our review on. And we're still kind of hoping that we can keep an open mind, about...
Mine is still pretty open because I have not watched other people's hateful reviews or even read any of the reviews. I've just seen, the headlines of, we hate it.
Yeah, well...
and I ignored that.
There's a lot of different views out there, and some of them are valid, I think, and some of them are just ridiculous, misguided stuff. So, anyways, maybe I'll edit that out. I don't know. All right. So yeah, we're gonna go into this one. I try to keep an open mind, but we'll give you our honest review of episode 3.
Yeah.
I will say that there's 2 things I want to say before we start. I'm going to make a prediction, okay, that we're going to see a scene where May pretends to be Osha, but then they figure out it's not Osha because of the tattoo. She doesn't have the tattoo. That's how, and so they made a big deal about showing us the tattoo in the first episode or whatever it was. So I think there's going to be that.
See, that's why I think that it's it's.
You think it's lighthearted?
Yeah, Mary-Kate Ashley Olsen.
Yeah.
Well,
earlier today you said it's a summer. It's a summer.
I feel like it's good for summer. I think this was the appropriate release time.
Okay.
It feels like a summer show.
A summer fling.
Yeah.
All right.
Summer loving.
Okay, so we're going to stop.
Before I start singing.
We're going to immediately cut to our review coming up right now. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.
Right. Get on with it.
Okay. Well, we just watched episode 3. And we have not even talked, so we don't know what the other one's going to say. It's going to be a complete surprise.
It is.
Okay.
Should we start with a quick recap of what happened?
If you think that's the best way to go forward.
This whole episode was on Brendock.
Yeah.
16 years earlier, so May and Osha are little kids.
Yep.
We meet their mother, whose name I did not catch, and then the woman who carried them, whose name I did catch, Mother Quarrel.
Okay.
Quarrel? Yeah.
They have 2 mothers.
Yes.
Yes.
They live in a coven of witches.
Coven of Witches.
And it is the dawning of their
Age of Aquarius.
of their ceremony.
The Ascension.
The Ascension, thank you. Yes, Ascension ceremony. May wants to do it. Osha is reluctant.
Yeah.
Osha's not into this whole witch thing, but May really, really, really is. She seems...
Yeah, May is definitely gung-ho about becoming a witch and following in her mother's footsteps.
Yes.
And being part of this coven.
Yeah.
And Osha's like, there's more to life.
Yeah, she wants to experience it.
Mm-hmm. There's more than just Brendock.
And there's also Jedi on the planet that they are trying to avoid because the Jedi are there to test any children that are around.
Yeah, apparently it's a crime to train children in the ways of the Force. Apparently that's like the New Republic, or not a New Republic, but a Republic. Sorry, I'm getting my eras mixed up, but a Republic crime to do. And so the Jedi are there to sort of enforce, I think. They're like law enforcement.
We've heard you're training children around these parts.
Yeah.
So the Ascension ceremony gets interrupted by the Jedi coming in, and it's the 4 Jedi that May is trying to kill.
Right. 3 of them are masters. 1 is a Padawan.
Mm-hmm.
Torben's the Padawan, and the other 3 are either. Well, they didn't say they were all masters, I guess, but Indara's a master. I don't know about the other 2.
Yes, I don't know.
They might be. Ranks, it doesn't really.
So the children are revealed. They were trying to hide them. May. Oh,
go ahead. May went through the ceremony.
Yes, her ceremony got finished, so she has the little.
The mark of the coven.
Yes, and supposedly maybe has the powers now.
I don't know.
And
that's a really good point I hadn't thought about. Go ahead.
Okay. And then Osha, she was reluctant and she didn't get it because the Jedi interrupted. So she did not get the mark.
She was kind of stalling for time, and then the Jedi showed up. Yeah.
The Jedi eventually take them to get tested after Mother tells them to lie. They don't know what's going to be on the test, but just say what's the opposite of what's in your heart.
Right.
Yes. May, we don't see the test, but she supposedly lies, I'm guessing.
And fails the test, apparently. Yes.
Osha stops lying. She gets caught. And then reveals her deepest thoughts of like, I do want to be a Jedi. I do want to go see the world and all that. So they also do a blood test, which we'll get into that later. And then so they go back and Osha tells her mom she really wants to be a Jedi, and her mom's like, we'll talk about it in this group and we'll consider your wishes.
Yeah.
Osha goes back to her room. May shows up. May is pissed AF and says, you can't leave. And Osha's like, you can't stop me. And she's like, well, I'm going to kill you then.
Right. So she locks her in their room somehow.
Yes. And then uses a wall lamp to light her notebook on fire and set a fire to the room.
Yeah.
Which somehow really spreads to the whole place. Osha escapes through the wall. She knows the wiring really well.
Yeah, she has a secret path out of the room somehow.
Yes. Well, we know she likes to escape a lot. They talked about her disobedience. But Soul saves her from the bridge.
The 2 girls are on opposite sides of a broken bridge, and they're both falling, and Saul can apparently only save one. So it appears that May falls down into a large thing.
Abyss, yeah.
The abyss. We don't know what happens to her, but he later claimed that he saw her die. So
yeah. Osha awakes on the ship, heading to Coruscant. And they tell her everybody's dead. And then,
but we also see that everyone was dead.
Yeah, we did see all the adults were dead.
And the whole structure was burning, or it was spreading from.
It was spreading.
But I think it was more than just setting that notebook on fire in the hallway. I think
May was running around with fire.
I think you said that she has the power of the coven. Maybe she's just immediately started using it for evil. Yeah. And took everyone by surprise and killed everybody.
No, hold on. Let's finish. Sorry. Okay. We're almost at the end of the episode. She's on the ship. They're heading Coruscant. And then we go back to Brendock, where we see May standing in front of the tree that Osha really liked.
Yeah.
And she's maybe has some ash on her, soot.
Something. Yeah.
And then it ends.
Yeah.
That's just kind of a quick recap.
Yes. Quick recap. You said you wrote down some what the fuck questions?
This all right.
Okay.
Didn't love everything.
Whoa.
I guess a witch coven really took me out of Star Wars.
Okay.
It took me to Salem, Massachusetts and the Crucible, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. It's too religious.
Okay.
And I feel like they could have had something better for witches. Are witches in...
There is precedent for witches.
Okay.
The witches of Dathmar.
All right.
Yeah, so it's not a totally new phenomenon in Star Wars, but you're not a hardcore fan.
I'm not, so I didn't know that. So I was just like, witches seems too American and puritanical and religious to me. And
I mean, you can blame George Lucas because George came up with the Clone Wars animation series, and that's where the witches kind of came from.
All right.
The Witches of Dathomir. They use the Force, but they use it as magic instead of like the Jedi or the Sith.
Another religious thing they said was they referred to the Jedi as deranged monks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
This is some very secular shit going on here, right? It's like you guys believe something crazy. What we believe is not crazy, but what you believe is crazy. Yeah, they have a different way of thinking. These witches, they think about the Force differently than what we've been exposed to.
Which I think is fine. I was just thrown off by calling it witches. Could we have not called it something else? I don't mind a coven of people using the Force as something.
Yeah, okay.
But
you don't like the term witch because...
I think of the Crucible and burning witches and...
Salem,
and
yeah.
Satan and the devil and...
Well, okay. Yeah, I can see...
I don't think of it as spacey.
Okay. I think hardcore Star Wars fans would also agree that Star Wars is not just science fiction. It's fantasy. It's more of a fantasy thing than a sci-fi.
Okay, and I guess
it's in a sci-fi setting because it's they're flying through space and shit like that.
I can see that, I guess. But I feel like witches are set too much in history as reality.
Okay.
I know they didn't really have power.
Well, hold on. So in the very first Star Wars, movie, which I still call Star Wars, by the way, it's A New Hope, right?
Oh, okay. I was going all the way back to...
Uncle Owen refers to Obi-Wan Kenobi as that crazy old wizard. Right? Okay. So... they're using terms, and I mean,
But did we ever refer to people as wizards in history? Wizards, I feel like are... I don't know. Okay, I'm getting
I'm just saying that it's not like they made everything up, for their world.
Wow, I never thought of Star Wars as, like, fantasy.
Yeah, it's totally
fantasy. I saw it more of, like, a space opera. And I feel like witches and warlocks are their own thing.
Okay.
And, werewolves.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. Okay.
That's like its own box. And they're making up their own fantasy shit.
Yeah.
They're cute little aliens, which I'm disappointed there were none. Episode 1 and 2, I thought they were really great, cute aliens.
Okay, so I think I think you did not approve of this particular episode.
I did like it as all women. And I do like I do like that.
Why?
And I like the idea of like it's this group of women trying to harness power together.
Okay.
And there's no men. It's great. They create the world they want.
Well, the good thing about being able to use the Force is that you don't have to lift heavy objects. Right?
Yeah.
So you don't need men if you can use the Force.
They seem to be living peacefully. They don't want to be disturbed. They just want to live out their life.
Yeah, it seems like they're fleeing prosecution at some point, and that makes sense, though.
Like witches would have done.
Exactly.
But they weren't really witches. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for letting me know. This is fantasy, not sci-fi.
I'm not trying to, mansplain it to you. I just
never thought of it because I think of Lord of the Rings as fantasy.
Yeah,
but not sci-fi.
Imagine Lord of the Rings and they were able to fly in spaceships. Then does that change the genre, or is it still fantasy? You know,
I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Jedi coming to collect children. That seemed terrible to me. So it reminded me of the churches taking away Native American children and teaching them the ways of
Christianity.
Sorry.
Same thing with the Japanese and the Portuguese.
Yes, it happened everywhere.
Philippines.
It really did. We're trying to make left-handed children right-handed.
So that happens in Star Wars already. Qui-Gon Jinn takes Anakin away from his mother. Now, albeit he talks her into it, right? He says, "Here's why I need to take your son away." He convinces her that this is best for him, and this is a pretty long-standing tradition. Now, the point that I was going to make is that both of these girls are too old to have this happen to them. Obi-Wan Kenobi only has very vague memories of his childhood before he became a youngling at the temple. So they usually try to. What I've always heard from the Star Wars lore is that they try to take them very, very young. They identify them as quickly as possible and say, "Hey, this is a special child. We need to train them." And I don't know if there's been issues in the past. For 1,000 generations, the guardians of So who knows? We're delving into the history that it might have been glossed over by Obi-Wan and Yoda, because that's the only people that have ever told us anything are basically those characters. And
it has been a while since I've watched those prequels.
Yeah,
call them. And I think the last time I watched it was those comedic take on it.
The Red Letter Media takedown.
The Red Letter Media.
So good.
And so,
the Red Letter Media takedown of the prequels were better than the prequels. I got to give a shout out to Red Letter Media. That was the most genius shit ever. Yeah,
and that was probably the last time, and that's probably almost a decade ago.
It's been
when we first met. Yeah. All right. Well, I just felt like this episode did not paint Jedi in a good way to me at all.
Well, they're doing it from the perspective of the Coven. And the Coven feels persecuted by the establishment that they left, and that includes the Jedi. And specifically now, because they have these children, they know they're in trouble. They know that they've done something wrong and that they're going to be targets again. So I think they're feeling really vulnerable. And and they're pretty powerful. They made that one guy go crazy.
They controlled him for a second.
Yeah.
All right, well, and then I wrote down all dead from the fire. I felt like that fire was too short and not vast enough to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So I do feel like, did they start meeting and decide to do a mass suicide? Or did May kill them all?
Or are we going to find out that the other Jedi killed them all? Which I think is nonsense, but there just didn't seem to be enough time for everyone to have died.
Yeah, and to just be completely dead and not in the death throes.
Right.
That was just a little...
Everyone's just conveniently dead 2 minutes later.
Yeah.
From this scene where she's packing up her little backpack.
Yeah.
And she's deciding to take her stuffed animals or not. You know?
And it couldn't have been carbon monoxide poisoning from the fire, because then the girls would have been dead.
I think there's something more to it than what we saw.
Well, there better be, or else we're going to have a whole other True Detective on our hands, and it's going to be a letdown. All right. Season 5. 4. Oh, my God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Um,
But this gives us kind of her... I thought maybe this is her revenge. I was like, why does May really want to kill these 4 Jedi when I didn't feel like they did a lot aside from break up the family?
That's what I think that might be it. It just that you came along and you ruined everything. Everything was going the way I wanted it to go, and because of what you did to my sister, I had to burn it all down.
Yeah.
Which makes me question whether the Coven was the right place for May to be, because she was clearly psychotic, and now you're giving power to a psychopath.
Yeah.
And the Jedi probably would have been able to help you with that.
Well, I didn't love it. I'm glad we got the history.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I'm an encyclopedia of Star Wars.
Yeah. I meant the history of the girl.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But thank you for your history of the witches.
Okay.
Yeah, even just saying the witches, there's Roald Dahl's version of the witches. Witches takes me out to a different place.
Well, hold on. The Harry Potter witches weren't like that, The witches, the Harry Potter, the females.
What? Yeah.
The females in Harry Potter world were called witches.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean that, it doesn't have anything to do with Salem.
No. I guess because it wasn't a coven. Like, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, the realization's hitting me on a couple levels here. You liked the first 2 episodes, and I did not.
Oh, okay.
And I actually like this episode.
I just didn't love it. I was like, man, I really don't like the Jedi, and I really don't like them.
Did the Jedi actually do something that made you not like them?
I didn't know they came around and picked up children and tested them.
Okay, that's
like,
yeah. I guess I was used to that. That's what I'm.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess
I'm not saying it's normal. I'm saying that's what they did.
But I guess that is like Harry Potter, as you pointed out, because they go to that special school and then they go home. But I guess Harry Potter's not in space. It's just witches and wizards. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no aliens. I mean, there's creatures.
Right.
But right.
I also wanted to say that the first 2 episodes, I felt like the dialogue and some of the decision making of the characters was terrible. I thought the writing was terrible in those first 2 episodes, and I said it in our review. But I like this. I like this episode. I like the writing. It felt like everybody was doing logical things until May went crazy. Like it made sense why things were happening. One thing that I think a lot of people are going to be angry about is the way in which this coven is describing the Force and describing the Jedi and all this stuff, and it's like, this is just their opinion. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the way we think about Darth Vader and Obi-Wan and all the characters that we've loved all these years. Nothing's changed. This is just a different group of people with a different perspective, and they can have that perspective. It doesn't change your perspective or mine. Just let them live. So, I liked it. I was okay with it. I don't know why everybody was freaking out. Oh, episode 3 is going to break Star Wars. I mean, it didn't. Not for me.
Well, and I didn't like the blood test.
Oh, you know what that is?
Collecting them for, like, keeping track of them or something?
No, it's going to be a midichlorian test. There's a test that they do. You haven't watched The Phantom Menace in a long time, but The Phantom Menace, this is the only time they talked about this, was they tested Anakin's blood, and it was off the charts, even higher than Master Yoda. So it showed that he has incredible potential. They didn't really say what they're going to do with this blood test, but I'm guessing that it's going to be the midichlorian test.
Okay, good.
Because why else would they do it?
I don't know. I assumed it was like, this is how we keep tabs on you. So if you run, we'll be able to find you with this drop of blood or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I feel like this is still better than other things we've watched, like True Detective Season 4 or The Staircase. Or
the staircase. I thought we really enjoyed the staircase.
the staircase is the one that it could have ended like 5 times.
Oh yeah,
Like
we got really tired of that, didn't we?
We thought it was over at like episode 4, and then we're like, oh no, there's like 7 more episodes or something.
Well, and we just watched Night Country, True Detective Night Country, and it was so disappointing.
It just jumped around too much, and so I do enjoy that this stays on scenes.
Yeah. Okay.
For longer.
Yeah.
It also feels almost like Star Trek to me, in a way.
Star Trek. Okay.
It feels like watching Star Trek episodes.
I think Disney's still trying to figure out their style. They got so many different styles. All the shows are different, which I guess is fine, but
I don't think Star Wars. I think it makes if they're all a little bit different.
A little bit different is okay with you? Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like they're all different. It's all different.
And I guess the different trilogy series have different looks and feels a little bit too. I mean, I compare everything to The Empire Strikes Back. That's the bar, right? It's the fucking best, and everything else is below that. So this is just another thing that doesn't hit that high mark, and nothing can. So I'm okay with it. What do you want? People, I'm yelling at the people.
I got that.
The complainers. The infinite complainers. I'm infinitely pissed off about Star Wars. Well, then stop watching it. Also, stop complaining about it. God.
Yes.
All right. Well, this was fun.
Yes, this is not what I was expecting.
What were you expecting?
More of this. I didn't expect a history episode.
More of the crap that we watched earlier.
I was hoping for Ewoks. I said that's my hope. A New Hope. You
would be happy if we just did a whole series of the Cantina where the band was playing and the aliens would come in, and it'd be like Cheers.
Cheers. I know. Star Wars Cheers. I'd watch that. I am a sitcom person. I watch sitcoms. That's all I watch. So I've watched them all, from Golden Girls to Friends, Seinfeld, Roseanne. I've watched
that would
them
be.
all.
I think that'd be hilarious if they made a Star Wars sitcom.
I mean, I'm sure some people feel that,
and it just had like 2 or 3 sets. The house, their work, and maybe a neutral location, and there was like. Maybe a Jedi comes along once in a while to kind of solve a problem, but there's no big space battles. There's no going to other planets. It's just like, hey, what's going on with Zork?
Yeah, they're all sleeping with each other.
Oh my God, the tentacles.
I mean, I think there's untapped potential there.
So you want it to be more like Grey's Anatomy than...
Oh, no.
Or like...
No.
I don't know any of those shows. What's a show where everybody's sleeping with everybody?
The sitcoms have lots of people. The Golden Girls are sleeping around all the time.
Yeah, and the Golden Girls were only like 50.
Yes. It was a different time.
I know.
In the 80s and 90s. Cheers, weren't they sleeping together? I mean, they were sleeping.
There was a couple couples that... It got together and broke up and got together. Yeah. It was good to see Carrie Ann Moss again, although only briefly, like 2 scenes, really.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see more flashbacks for training.
I feel like there's too many questions still.
Yeah.
Around this location and these events for it to just be one episode and we're out and back to the real world again. But yeah, so, I mean, okay, you didn't pay attention to a lot of the drama that was going on around Star Wars and all the, people who were complaining.
I don't like negativity.
A lot of people said, people who had early access to the first 4 episodes have said that episode 3 is going to break Star Wars forever. And I'm like, listen, friends, I love Star Wars, and I just watched episode 3, and it's not broken. Everything's fine. Everybody needs to calm down. I think it was just a bunch of nonsense to get people to watch their videos, personally. Because unless I'm missing something, and I might actually go back and watch this episode again, because I didn't watch the first 2 again. I had no interest in those first 2 episodes. This one I might watch again. But instinct is not kicking in, going like, oh, they've ruined it.
I don't feel like it's ruined.
No.
I mean, I feel like the prequels ruined it, if anything.
Look, I can go all the way back to the Ewoks, okay? The Ewoks ruined Star Wars. If you want to go back to when things got ruined.
Ewoks making everything better.
The special editions ruined Star Wars.
The Christmas episode?
No, well, that's
movie.
we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the...
I've never even seen it, but I really...
Oh my God, it's fucking horrible. Okay, but I'm talking about the special editions where George Lucas went back to the original trilogy and he added a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so obvious because it doesn't look like it fits. It's not on the same plane. And you're like, oh,
that was terrible. That was
awful. Bad. Great job.
Yeah.
So that ruined Star Wars.
All right.
But before that, the Ewoks ruined Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right, are we done?
Right. I think that's all I have to say. I would be interested in what anybody who's watched.
Put your comments down below. I don't care if you disagree or agree. Let's hear from you. And, let's get a dialogue going. Because, I think this is a pivotal moment in the history of Star Wars, I think.
Who do you think ruined Star Wars? What was the defining moment for you? I think every person has.
Jar Jar.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, even if you don't like what we just said. Or what I just said. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with our episode 4 review.
And check us out for our asshole videos.
Asshole Wednesdays, coming out every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Everybody likes to start the morning with a good old asshole.
We talk about some real assholes.
All right.